Hi, Jim Walsh here for Townsquare Media with a very special guest. Let's welcome Bismarck's own Johnny.
What do you think, Jim? This is good for morning wake up.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to talk to me now.
Oh, okay,
It's hard for me to talk, Jim, when I'm eating this.
That's quite all right. Yeah, you kind of have me at a loss for words, which is not a common thing.
I didn't know if you were hungry enough.
Be careful you don't set your hair on fire.
Well, I did that. That's why it's a little loose in the
back. Yeah, and the green color, I'm sure that has something to do with it. Johnny Green here, Batman's own, Bismarck's own, a man of... a Renaissance man, if you will, a man of many talents.
Thank you.
What brings you here today, Johnny? Now, you live right here in Bismarck, don't you?
I do live here now. I've been living here about 11, going on 12 years.
That's about the time I got here.
I love it here.
Yeah, you and I got here, and I got here and married a local girl. I think you did too, right?
Well, that's what it is. It isn't just the girls that kept us here, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's the rest of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and the lovely balmy winters as well.
Well, I was raised in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Sure.
I know we used to have a team, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
But I moved out to California in the early 60s. So I kind of claimed California, but now I claim Bismarck because on my tours, I would always stop through here.
Yeah, your adopted hometown.
Yes.
So
I have a lot of friends. I made a lot of friends here.
Well, tell us about what you do, because you're obviously a bit of a character, if I may say so.
Well, that's what got me on the Batman show, is having
you
green
were on
hair.
Batman, the classic. We're talking the old 60s Batman.
The early television
Adam
series,
West and the late Yvonne Craig.
Yvonne Craig.
Who passed away not too long ago.
And Cesar Romero, the Joker.
Cesar Romero. Is it true that he refused to shave his mustache?
He refused, and he would not do anything with his hair. Ours is real, as you can see.
Oh, yeah.
And what really got me on that show is the fact that I had the green hair, and I presented that. And the Joker was supposed to have orange hair like Ronald McDonald.
Right.
And when they saw that this green group came up, they says, why couldn't we have a leader, the Joker, have green hair? Well, he wouldn't do his hair naturally because he was a very sophisticated actor.
Yes, he was. Very stately fellow.
Very famous at the time.
Yes.
So they made the wig. We dyed it green, and that's how we started our little careers.
Now, you were one of the Joker's henchmen. So if we watch the old Batman shows, the ones with the Joker, you were one of the guys who would be brawling with Batman and Robin when the oof and pow and bam and biff were going on.
That's what we did. We were the bad guys. And matter of fact, I went to Branson, Missouri, and played some country for a while, and I called myself Johnny Green and the Bad Guys.
Oh my!
That was just for a short stint.
Well, now you're Johnny Green and the Green Men. Well, tell us a little bit about your musical background, because from my understanding, you've pretty much worked with everybody in the business.
Well, back in the early 50s, late 50s, and early 60s, you got to really work with everybody, because a lot of the acts would record a song, and they didn't have a band to back them. And Dick Clark and people like that would say, Johnny, we need a group like you for the Dick Clark Caravan shows.
Yeah.
And we were hired on musicians. House band. Yeah, house band. That's a good word. And we would back up, the Lou Christies and everybody in the industry you can think of. Sam Cooke. It goes on and on with all the 50s and 60s greats, and they used to have Jimi Hendrix come and sit in with us.
Oh, yeah. And that must have been during his period when he was doing the Chitlin circuit.
Well, he was working with the Isley Brothers after he got landed a job. He was working with famous groups,
Was that after he was fired by Little Richard for being too pretty?
Yes. Boy, you know this history, too.
I'm an old radio guy. What kind of time? I'm an old boss jock.
Well, I like talking to old radio guys because they got the voice. You got the voice.
Thank you.
But anyway, we would back up all these different entertainers, and that would get us into push us towards the record companies. They would say, well, why don't you guys record? So we started doing some recordings for, believe it or not, Lawrence Welk, who was from this state, paid for my first single record. And it was called Poor Little Fat Girl. And it was about the wars. Yeah. And a guy leaving for the military, and he had a wife that was big when he left. And then
was that
she
like
got
a protest song? Or?
Well, no, it wasn't. It was about she was pregnant and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And as she got really big and fat, nobody really wanted to talk to her. But this guy loved her, that kind of thing. So it's a love song. And it was done very well, and he gave us $5,000 to do that. That was a lot of money then.
Lawrence Welk.
Welk.
Another North Dakota connection.
Later on, that's exactly. And every 3 years, I go to Strasburg and I play the street dance.
Yeah.
Now, today, yet. So we like the state of North Dakota.
Tell us a little bit about your connection with the Beatles and the Stones.
Well, I was was playing in the New York World's Fair. I just was in Life magazine with Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And we worked with people like Dizzy Gillespie, Oscar Peterson, Liberace,
Yeah.
a lot of big acts at a show called True Broadway with Love. And a group came over to do the Ed Sullivan Show, and they wanted to see what their competition was in the United States. And they stood in front of us and watched us do a half-hour show, the Beatles. We got to perform with the Beatles, and Red Rocks also tour, the very first group to tour with the Rolling Stones.
Oh.
And we did, back then, 3 dates was a tour.
I was going to say, that's a long time ago. Was Jagger a virgin at that point? Or?
He sure was. Let me tell you, they used our amplifiers, came over with their guitars only. And matter of fact, the reviews are out right now on the internet, Johnny Green and the Rolling Stones, because back then they would write about us in newspapers.
Right.
Well, now the digital and all the computers, they take those newspapers and reproduce the stories. And there's a big story out on us now about us and the Rolling Stones. They were rebels, though, then. I guess they still are.
Yeah, well, they were kind of cultivating that image. They were like the anti-Beatles. You know, the Beatles were these nice,
clean,
likable, family-friendly act from Liverpool, but the Rolling Stones, they kind of went with the contrasting image, sort of the heavy, Clockwork Orange, somewhat menacing character.
They did things with us unbelievable. They would do they would get $5,000 to do the show that night. That was a lot of big money.
Yeah.
And they'd spend $7,500 on renting rooms and buying food and liquor for everybody.
Of course.
So they were the rebel guys.
Was Keith Richards, was he hitting the sauce pretty hard back then?
They all were.
Okay.
Yeah, they all were. It's nothing, like I tell people now, it's just that people already know all this stuff. But if I would talk about that in the early days when we were touring, they would say, well, they don't do that, but they did,
Now, you've played for a president. Which president?
5 of them.
5 of them.
Nixon, Carter, Reagan, Ford, and Clinton. I count Clinton. I never got to play for him at the time because he got in trouble at the White House.
Oh.
Remember?
I do remember.
But we still got paid.
Yeah.
And I still liked him because he played the saxophone.
Yeah, I was going to say it would have been cool to have Bill sit in with you guys.
Well, it was in our contract that he was going to do that. As a finale, he was going to play the song Tequila with us.
Yeah.
But it never happened. But I still counted,
Now, who's your favorite president of the 5?
I don't know if I should say this. Nixon. I like Nixon.
You like Nixon?
Yeah, I like Nixon. We did Nixon and Reagan together, and I count Reagan because at the time he was a governor.
Right.
So I count him as another president. You know? We did that in L.A. at the time.
All right, we're talking with Johnny Green of Johnny Green and the Green Men. You've got a new website, and we need to talk about the Bob Hope connection.
Well, I just got back from Vietnam, and I was sitting in a gymnasium and watching Bob Hope do a show. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of the show, being a jokester that he was, we were like on the balcony. He stopped the show and he said, "Hey, you little green man, what are you doing in here?" And I stood up and I yelled out. Back then, people were quiet. You didn't scream and yell much. And I said, "Well, we're here to watch your fine show, and we just love you, Bob Hope." So he says, "Well, I'd like to see you gentlemen in my dressing room right after the show." Well, that introduced me to Bob Hope. I got into the dressing room. And he says, "Listen, I want you guys to come with me to a new war, Vietnam." And that's what happened. We got very friendly. The last 30 years of his career, I was his spokesman, if you will, manager. You don't manage a guy that had $900 million.
Yeah.
But if they like you, you become their spokesman and you tour with them, and we worked all the shows.
Well, at the time, Bob Hope was like one of the 100 or so wealthiest men in the planet.
He was.
He had a lot of money.
And, he didn't know. I asked him one time, how much you got? I should have done that. I was a kid. How much money you got? He says, well, I don't know. He says, they printed it, but I don't carry a wallet, as you know. He didn't. He never carried a wallet.
The ultimate status symbol is not having to carry any cash on you.
He never did. He never did.
So what brings you here today, Johnny? What's your agenda for today?
Well, we're doing some interviews and we're doing some shoots, and this is being the number one station in the town. We decided to talk about. I'm going to be doing some performances here in Napoleon for their Halloween night, and I'm going to also do another one this weekend over at the VFW.
Sure.
I work for those guys a lot. They're nice people. And I like to do military shows in this town. The last time I did at the AMVETS, I raised about $25,000 for the guys in Baghdad. They needed phone cards.
Yeah.
So I like to do that kind of stuff,
And you're right here in town, and you're still in the music business. I understand.
I like visiting for another reason. You can fly out of here real cheap and fast.
Yeah.
Go down to the airport, and you're in Chicago or Minneapolis.
Right now, you can fly to Vegas and back for under $100.
Wow, I'm going. Let's go.
Yeah.
You want to, Jim? Let's go this
I'm
weekend.
there, man. Poker's my game, though, not blackjack.
I'm
Poker.
blackjack guy.
Poker is, blackjack's okay, but poker, you have the human element, which you don't have in blackjack. Blackjack is all about the mathematics.
It's all about math, yeah. It's all about math. It's all about the base,
Yeah, counting them cards, but don't let them catch you counting the cards. But anyway.
There's another reason I like this town a lot. You guys have a lot of talent in this town.
Thank you.
A lot of people don't know that. I have a new act called Willie. He's a singer.
Yes.
And taking him to we're going to
come on over here, Willie. Get in front of the camera here.
Listen. He's going to be with Dolly Parton next week, and I'm jealous, And he's going to meet. Where are you going to meet her? Where's she going to be, Willie?
I don't know. Doc's just taking me to see her.
He's not going to tell you where she's at.
No.
She's going to be at Dolly Parton, I bet you. She's going to be at Dolly World. Dolly is a great singer. She's
right outside of Knoxville, the Smoky Mountains. Sure.
It's a beautiful place. And Willie Bean from me just got out of the service, and he's going to be going to record at Sony Records, Tree Publishing.
Oh, sweet.
He's going to start right at the top.
Where, in Nashville?
Yeah, he'll be in Nashville.
Fantastic.
And, his producer is Doc Holliday. He's very famous with Bruce Springsteen.
I've heard the name.
Many, many acts. And we're not using the Green Men to back up Willie. We're using some very good recording men that have had a lot of hit records, and they get the work done fast.
Yeah.
It's like doing this interview. You know what you're doing. That's how we do it.
Fantastic.
Go right to the top. But Willie, write songs. Tell them some of your material. Go ahead.
Well, just a couple months ago, I went down to Sony Records in Nashville to record an album, and my album has now been released. It was released on September 14th. It was a 12-song album. It's designated as a country album, but the album has a lot more than just country. It's a variation of country music. It's got some pop on there.
Yeah.
It's got even some doo-wop on there, some contemporary music. I feel really good about the album. It's a great album.
Yeah.
And
sounds like you're still kind of finding your way musically, but that's a very natural part of the process.
Yeah, I want to make every kind of music.
Beautiful.
He plays piano, he plays guitar, he plays bass, does drums. Did multiple recording like Bob Dylan. So I was very impressed when his family introduced me to him at his school. What was the name of your high school you just graduated?
Bismarck High School.
Beautiful.
Graduated last year.
And they got a lot of kids over there that can really play. Their music person over there to teach them must be a monster.
Yeah.
There's girls that play fiddle.
You got a lot of very talented musical people in this town.
Yes, we do.
But Willie is going to do really well because he's got Johnny Green.
Johnny Green.
He don't want to dye his hair green, but that's okay.
Johnny Green of the Green Men.
You don't want to eat no fire either.
Yeah, not the Little Green Men. That was somebody else, I think.
Yes, you're right.
Some guy out of Memphis, I think.
Yeah.
But Johnny, so you do perform in the area, I understand.
Yeah, I do perform. I go. What I do here now, our industry's really changed. It used to be 6 days a week. And now it's 2 or 3 days. And I work the casinos in the state of North Dakota. And I work a lot of oil fields right now. And they've taken a lot of little bars in these little small towns and opened them up. And they put food in them. And they have a band. And Johnny Green and the Green Men come rolling in. I just left Williston. And this weekend, as you know, I'll be here in town. But I leave again in another week. I travel all over the country. I try to limit it down to 5 or 6 states.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I've been in 102 countries. What do I want to tour for?
So you have a website, a new website, I understand.
Yes,
Why don't you tell the folks where they can get more information about the Green Men?
Well, I'm very fortunate with my name on the internet because if you pop up Johnny Green, it just comes up. I manage Robbie Knievel right now, but he's getting old like me, and I feel Willie's a little better project because he's only 19, He's got a big future. Johnny Green and the Green Men, if you just pop that up, it'll come in. You'll see my official website.
Yeah. And
then, of course, a lot of people put films and little clips about us wherever we're working. And I could really like the internet. I like this stuff. And I'm learning from guys like Willie how to run the internet.
Yeah. So go and Google Johnny Green and the Green Men for more information. Johnny, a pleasure. We must do it again sometime.
Jimmy, thank you very much for having me this early in the morning.
Thanks again. Jim Walsh here for Townsquare Media-Bismarck.